Today's kit build is this LED star. It's got just a few components, main IC that goes in the centre, LEDs around the outside. We've got the IC here with the holder, all the LEDs, and a good job for us colourblind people, all the resistors are the same. We've got a switch and a USB connection that goes on the sides, so it should be a fairly easy kit to build. A couple of things we need to do before we start building the kit is we just need to make sure that the legs on the IC holder are straight. So we'll just pop that in there, like that. Straighten those out, and we'll do the same thing with the IC. Put that in there as well. There we go, and that'll just straighten out the legs for us. Another thing that we can have a quick look at, we'll just get a little 3-volt button battery here and pick an LED. Now the larger side on these is a positive and the smaller side is negative, so let's just pop the LED on, and as we can see it's a multicoloured with flashing on it, so that should look quite nice when we get that built onto the star. So we can sit here all night and test all these if we want to, but they should be alright. I don't think we need to test every single individual one. So the first thing we're going to do is put the resistors in, and they are all the same, and they're marked down here, 2 up there and then 4 more up there. Okay, so we'll do these 2 first. Right, let's got that done. Let's just chop the legs off. And that's got the first 2 on.
Okay, it's got those on, so let's sew that up.
Okay, and the final 4 that goes up in the top corner here.
Okay, so that in. Let's just pull those legs apart slightly so it's easier to hold them in place.
There. Let's get those done. Next thing we'll do is put this switch in, which goes on the edge of the board here. Now what I've soldered is the actual 2 legs first that hold the case on. They're not connected to anything, and that makes it easier to solder all the other wires to the actual points that do make the connection. There we go, that leg down there hasn't quite soldered right, so let's do that one again. Yeah, that's got it better. Okay, so that's got the switch on. So the next thing we'll do is the USB connection, which gives the power to the board. Now that goes down here in the corner. Down here we've got 2 holes that hold the outside, the actual case part on, and we've got 2 legs at the back which solder here flat onto the board. So it looks like we've got to bend those pins there slightly outwards so they can line up with the 2 holes, with the 2 plates I should say, that are on the board just there. So let's do that first. very slightly just bend those pins, bend those legs out. Okay, so I've done that now. And that should, excuse seeing the back of my fingers, but it should now sit nicely, which is not. Let's try that again. Okay, so those holes don't line up with that. So they are further out than what that is. So, well, they do go in very, I have to just zoom out again, sorry. So they are going in there, but I'm going to have to hold it with my finger like I am now, just to get a dab of solder on there. So, okay, so looking at the wires at the back, it looks like we should be able to solder those on. Yeah, that looks okay to me. So let's see if we... Well, there you go, that's just typical, isn't it? Let's do that again. Bit quicker that time. Looks like that's soldered in nicely, so I'm just going to flip the board over now so I can solder the case just to hold it in place. Let's move my light slightly so I can see better. There we go. There, that should hold that in place okay. Good, that's okay. So that's got that done. So on this board, there's a 4-pin jumper down here. Now, I believe this is for programming the chip, so you can have different patterns on it. I'm probably not going to do that, but while I've got plenty of space on the circuit board, I'm going to add the pins in anyway. These pins come as part of the kit, so let's put them on there like that. Get a bit of solder on the soldering iron. I'm going to hold one side and hopefully I can just pop a bit of solder on there. There we go. So I'm just going to hold it in place while I solder the other pins. There, that's got that done. That's now in place. So I think the next thing we better do is to get the IC in place, and for that we'll use the IC holder that came with the kit. Now what I'll do, I'll just point out something to you as well. If we look on the pattern that's on the circuit board, you'll see there's a small cutout at the top of the IC just there, and that matches up with the cutout that's on the IC holder just there. And you'll also notice that the connection there square while the rest of them are round. That means that that is pin 1, and pin 1 is always to the side of the cutout. So let's try that in there. Here we go. That's held in nicely. So all I'm going to do is pop a bit of solder on that leg there, pop a bit of solder on that leg there. I'm just going to double check to make sure that the holder is pressed firmly against the board, which it is, it's not risen. So those two will just hold the IC holder in place while I solder the rest of the legs up. There, so that's got the IC holder soldered in place. Now what I also recommend that you do is when you've finished soldering, always check. Now I can see immediately that we've got a couple of pins that haven't quite worked, so let's just resolder these. That's better, so that's that one done. Yeah. So again, just double check to make sure that solder is all the way around the pin, and if you're any doubt, just drop a bit of solder on again and just double check. So I'm looking at that and they all look fairly good to me. Okay, that's good. So the last components to go on will be the LEDs that go all the way around. Now you'll notice that we've been using this side of the board to mount all the components on, because this is where the markers for the components are. But for the LEDs, they're actually on the reverse side, on this side. So we have to mount our LEDs behind here, this side like so. Now on the LEDs we have a long lead and a short lead. The long lead is a positive and the short lead is a negative or the ground. And on the little pattern or the little print on the circuit board here, there's a triangle and a line. You'll also notice that one side is a square and one side is a round, and the square side is the plus side and the round side is the negative or the ground side. So we know that that will all the LEDs will go in like that. Well, not like that because I just bent it, but there we go, like that. There we go. Again, apologies for seeing the back of my hand, but I keep moving it out so you can see what's going on. So we've got the 3 in there. We'll turn the board round. We'll just hold them with our finger the other side, and I'll just very gently just bend the pins over like so, and that'll just hold the LEDs in place while we solder it up. There. I'll just explain, I'm using a different solder at the moment, and I don't particularly like it. It doesn't seem to be flowing right. So we've got those in. Snip off the legs. Right, that's got the first 3 done. Got a few more to do, so I'll pause the video and I'll solder those up, and I'll come back to you in a minute. So there we go, we've now finished all the LEDs that go around it. Everything's soldered up on the other side. I had a slight issue with one of them because it had a solder bridge across it, but I used my desoldering pump to get that away. So everything is now all soldered up. So the last thing we need to do on this is to put the IC in place. So I'll take it off the vise and we'll put that in next. So it's now off the vise, so let's bring in a bit of felt. There we go. So our IC goes this side, LEDs that side, so we'll put that on the felt so we can protect the LEDs. This is the IC, and just as I said before, there's a cutout on the IC just there, and that matches up with the cutout on the holder there. So let's see if we can get that in place. So I'm just going to bring my light in a bit so I can see what I'm doing. So just before I push it in, I'm just checking to make sure everything's lining up nicely. We've still got a gap on there, so I haven't pushed it all the way in yet. So I'm just checking to make sure that all the legs are in place. And I've just pressed it gently and it's not quite going in. So I don't think some of those legs are actually lined up. So let's just get the little tool again just to push that up. Just try that again, just making sure that the cutout, the nodule's in the right place. Okay, so the legs aren't lining up, so what I'm just going to do is just very gently press all the legs on one side against the board, against the desk here, just to bring them in slightly. Turn it round. I'll just do the same thing with the other side. Very gently, very slightly, just press them in. Okay, so we'll just have a quick look and see if we can line it up again. There we go. So that's now pressed in tight. Making sure, check it all the way around to make sure there's no legs a bit popped out, but that looks okay. It is slightly out at one side, so let me just press that in again. There we go, that's better. That's now flat against there, so that's now in properly. So the next thing we need to do then is to get some power. So I've now got my power brick here. Let's just zoom out a little bit. And cable, so let's plug it in. Switch the lights out, there we go. You may notice, by the way, I've got 3 LEDs left over, so 3 LEDs left in the kit, which is quite good. So let's plug this in. Okay, let's see what happens. Well, that'll look nice and pretty. There you go. I think that we can say that's working.